Joining us here on Entertainment Extra with yours truly, Joe Crawford, on RemicTV.com is a man who I think is going to be a great help, especially, well, where I'm from, the Niagara region, I like to call it like the northern Florida area, because a lot of retired people come up there, and a lot of retired people go down to Florida as well. And a man who knows a lot about retirement, who's an expert on it, and also a financial expert, is Mr. Robert Margetic. Bob, welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's great to be here.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Now, first of all, I have to say, because I never heard of anyone called as a retirement expert. How does, other than becoming retired, how does one become a retirement expert?
I guess you just call yourself one. You write a book. I think it's more that I've been spending about 25 years advising clients on all matters of financial and retirement planning, and my practice just evolved more to focus solely on retirement planning, so we know a lot about it.
Right, and first of all, it is very important to save money for retirement. I mean, like, a lot of people like to go out and spend money in entertainment as they get older, and with family entertainment and that, but you want to also have a cushion for yourself when you get older. Now, the question then is, like, how much should someone save for when they're retired?
Well, it's a simple question with a more complex answer. There's a lot of stuff in the media today that is, I don't know, a bit misleading in some ways or discouraging. You'll see the commercials where there's a number like 1,000,001 over somebody's head as he's dancing around. I mean, if you're not even, if that's way out there, all it is discouraging for you. But what it doesn't tell you is that it's not the number, how much you need to save, it's what you need to save in relation to what you're going to spend, and they never connect the two. So what we do as a general rule of thumb, to keep it somewhat simple, is you need to figure out what your expenses are. Hopefully people know that, or at least should think about it.
Yeah.
Subtract Social Security and pensions from that. Then that gives you the amount of money you need from your savings. Multiply that number by 20, and you'll get there. So if you need $50,000 a year to live on, you get $30,000 from Social Security. That's $20,000 you need a year from your savings. Times 20 is about $400,000 that you would need to save for that lifestyle.
Okay, so then with that said and done, and you mentioned Social Security, in your book you've written How to Survive the Coming Retirement Storm. You mentioned about a lot of baby boomers who are going to be retiring or are retired already, and that there might be an issue, maybe more so in America. I don't know about Canada right now, but there may be an issue about not having enough money for retirees, correct?
It's correct. Your system's more financially stable than ours. What the U.S. system did when they last tried to revamp Social Security in the 80s was they increased payroll taxes that was supposed to create a surplus. So all this money was supposed to go into a surplus trust fund, but the U.S. being the U.S., the politicians spent all that money, so there's no cash there. And so now what's happening, they're just IOUs between the governments. So what's happening now is there's not enough money coming from the payroll taxes to pay all the baby boomers who are out there. We're going to run more deficits. And in a sense, the Social Security system is technically bankrupt.
That's crazy. Now, what is the actual retirement age in the United States?
It varies. The full retirement is 65 if you were born like before 1950. Then it goes to 66 if you're born up to about 1955, and it's 67 after that.
Okay, because the reason why I ask is because in Canada, they're trying to pass a law. It's 65 across the board, but they're trying to make it now be within the next 10 years at least, to be 67 years old, be the new retirement age. So that's why I was just curious. And you guys are kind of like the same, between 65 and 67, but again, we're just across the board, and in 10 years' time, we'll be 67. Now, with your book, right? How to Survive the Coming Retirement Storm. Let's see the book there. Put it in front of your face there. I know we don't want to cover your face, but there we go. We can see that. Now, very good, and that can be purchased on your website, robertmargetic.com. And you talk about a 5-step process for success in these volatile times. So what kind of steps, without going into the book, because we want people to buy the book, let's touch a little bit about what the step process is.
Well, there's a distinction, and this is where you don't run into a lot of the retirement experts. Everybody's out there planning to help you save to get to retirement, and they're treating retirement almost like a wedding or marriage. Everything's built up. You're getting married. You have the big ceremony, but nobody tells you what to do after you get married. You're on your own.
Right.
And that's sort of what retirement seems to be. They tell you save a lot of money. Once you get to retirement, you're going to live happily ever after. Well, the problem is that once your money for 20 to 30 years, and you have to manage it in conjunction with how you spend money. And most Americans and most people of our generation in the first world countries are just ill prepared to do that. They don't know how to manage money for distribution. You're managing it now when you're accumulating, you're adding to your savings, but it's different when you start taking money out. And this is a mind to change, and that's what I'm trying to do in the book, is to get people to realize retirement's about more than just money.
Okay, so then is it then wise then, because a lot of people I find that retire, they decide to go on that big trip they've always wanted to go on, or they've always, or that cruise or whatever. Is that then probably not the smartest investment then to say to do when you retire?
Well, I don't think it's whether or not that's smart or not. If you save for it, it's fine. Unfortunately, what most people do is if you ask them what they're going to do in retirement, they may have a little bucket list of 5 or 10 things. And what happens is that you do all those in the first 2 or 3 years of retirement. So the question becomes, what are you going to do for the next 18 years? And that's what people haven't figured out.
So then is that the expectancy then of a retiree to live 20 years then?
At age 65, you have a greater than 60% chance that you'll live to 85. So you got about 18 years. If you have a couple, both couples age 65, there's a 50% chance one of you will live into your 90s. Wow. It's a very high likelihood. See, because what happens in mortality tables is what people don't understand is that it's calculated as an average, births, deaths, and what age you are. So in a silly way, if more people get killed in American inner cities and more babies die, life expectancy goes down. Right. I mean, it doesn't make sense if you're 65. It's not changing your life. So from a healthy perspective, you make it to 65, all the things in life that kill so many other people didn't kill you. If you're still healthy, then the odds are you're going to live at least 20 years in retirement. And this requires a long time to manage your financial affairs.
So then with that said and done, then I guess the picture that they, like you said earlier about having that it's a great thing, it's this big to-do, the big hurrah, but in reality, it's more or less you're done work now. How much in the States anyways do you, because I know the pay is less, like how much less is it that you would get from a paycheck, say, and you got to live by that?
Do you mean if you're still working?
No, like if you're retired now, say, right? Like, do you get the same pay as you would as you're working, or is it less than that, or how does that work?
Well, usually, for most people, their monthly expenses should decline.
Okay.
So you should paycheck is. And then the other thing that happens where people get things mixed up in retirement, if you ask how much you make, they're going to tell you what gross salary is. I make $75,000 a year because it sounds better. You sound wealthier. But it's not what you take home. You might take home $60,000 a year. That's what you're living on. You got money for Social Security taxes, income taxes, health, all that stuff gets taken out of your check. So you have a less, and then you have to subtract things that are related to your job, and then you add the new things that you're going to do to come up with your new expense level. And you should be somewhat less because your house should be being paid down. Hopefully you're out of debt, so you don't have any of that stuff. As you get into your 60s, you're less competitive on how you look, on wearing the latest fashions or driving the latest cars. So you get a little more frugal as you get older, so your expenses go down. So you don't need as much. The other thing that people don't realize or they don't think about is once that paycheck stops coming in, you have a completely different viewpoint on spending money. When you get out the dollar bills or the Canadian dollars, dollar after dollar, and you're buying stuff, and you don't have a paycheck coming in, you know it's all coming from your savings. There's some hesitation there on spending.
Robert Margetic, our guest for here on Entertainment Extra with Joe Crawford, How to Survive the Coming Retirement Storm, a 5-step process for success in volatile times. Robert, or Bob, I should say, do you happen to see maybe in the future maybe things can turn around and the retirement fund or the social pension fund can turn around for the better than it is, or is it going to keep on going down for the worse?
It's going to go down for the worse, and it's going to be all of Europe, Canada, Australia, all the developed countries that had a baby boom after World War II. And it's happening right now in Japan. The aging of the population, the number of people over age 65 is now 25% of the country. If you take the baby boomers out, and we have fertility rates that are less than replacement, so that means couples are having less than 2 children. So if we don't do anything on immigration, what means is that more and more seniors are going to retire, and there's going to be fewer and fewer workers. Where's the money going to come from? We're going to be down to maybe 2 workers per retiree. That's just not sustainable on how it's currently funded.
Wow. So does that mean then more retirees then will then not retire and just continue working till, needless to say, they die?
Well, that people have more responsibility is going to shift to people for their own well-being, which means they're better at managing their expenses. They're going to have to get better at managing their savings. And what will probably happen, and is happening in a way, is that since we're not in the Industrial Revolution and most of us aren't working in factories, you're going to be bored doing 9 years or so in retirement. And I think what people will get out of their regular day job that's more pressure, that may pay more, but they'll do something else to stay active. There are studies that show that people little pockets around the world where there's an inordinate number of people living to over age 100, one of the key factors is that they felt valued, that they felt they still were contributing. And I think that's what we're all going to have to find in our own lives as we get older. What is it that's going to make us feel good about ourselves as we start getting into our 60s and 70s?
Robert Margetic, the author of How to Survive the Coming Retirement Storm, a 5-step process for success in volatile times. And Robert, I know you're a financial expert, but also, are you yourself retired?
No.
Oh, no, you keep on working then, I guess, then, eh?
Yeah, well, I kind of have one of those jobs that I enjoy that's not overly stressful, and so I have control over my time, and I have my own company, so I work for myself, and there's not really any reason to retire. And so part of it is now my mission and what I'm trying to do is to help people prepare for retirement. Most of the surveys in the U.S. show that 70% of the people feel they're not prepared for 20 to 30 years in retirement. And part of it is they don't know what to do, and that's what I'm trying to help teach them.
Awesome. Well, so there's more than to just golfing and going on that big cruise on retirement.
There is, and if you think about it, there's things that people don't want to think about, but if you're going to live longer, you're going to start out living your friends. And I've got a coworker, a lady who works for me who's a bit older, and it just seems uncanny. Once a month, one of her friends have died, and it's just, you start going through this kind of emotional stuff. So we're going to need to have a way to stay connected socially and to rebuild social networks as we get older. You're not going to anymore.
Exactly. RobertMargetic.com is his website. You can go there and order his book, How to Survive the Coming Retirement Storm, a 5-step process for success in volatile times. Robert, I hope you enjoy yourself, and I think you are enjoying yourself, and I appreciate you coming on our show to talk about, I know maybe a lot of seniors may not have computers to watch the show, but I do know another handful of seniors that do have computers to watch this show, and hopefully they're in the right boat on living a long, prosperous life and having the money to keep them along to do so.
Well, great. Thank you. It's great being here.
Well, thank you, Robert. You're more than welcome to come on anytime.
All right. Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Keep it tuned here on Entertainment Extra with Joe Crawford on RemicTV.com because we have a lot of shows here on the website, RemicTV.com. Enjoy them all, and hopefully, if you're watching and you're retired, enjoy your retirement too. Take care. Bye-bye.